Welcome to another episode of the Love and Reality Podcast. I am your host, Ricky Valero. On today's episode, I am going to give you a quick rundown of what happened on tonight's episode of The Traitors, Season 3, Episode 5. We saw a monumental Episode 4 where we saw Boston Rob versus Bob the Drag Queen unfold in front of our eyes, and it was explosive. It was insane and one of the best moments that we've had on reality TV in quite some time. Of course, this meant that we were going to go into this episode with the Traitors meeting inside the room, getting ready to murder somebody. And Caroline and Danielle are not happy with Boston Rob, and they make it known pretty fast about that right away in the room together. As they continue to talk about who they wanted to eliminate, there was just so many conversations happening with Danielle and Caroline with the camera. We need to get rid of Boston Rob. We need to get rid of Boston Rob. We need to get rid of Boston Rob. It was hilarious to watch this because these three are so out of sync. And we see that play out through this entire episode amongst the three of them. So ultimately, what happens, they make the decision. It comes down to Gabby, Robin, and Sam. We see Sam and Gabby walk back in the door, meaning Robin has gone home. And now we are down another housewife from this show. It is crazy how many housewives we're eliminating one by one on this show. But as I said, that's part of the game. You know what I mean? It's part of the game. We are knocking them out one by one. And ladies and gentlemen, this has been at some point in time, I really felt like in this scenario, Rob should have taken a step back. Rob should have taken a step back here and said, hey, look, I'm going to let you guys, since I'm the one that murdered these people right here, I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to let you guys decide who's going to be eliminated, right? You know what I mean? That to me is what I feel like he should have done there, because he's been so gung-ho on this entire time about, hey, we need to get rid of this person. Going head to head with Bob like that, you have to allow some sort of space for these people to get their head in edgewise, get a thing in edgewise, just for the simple fact that you just eliminated a traitor and now they're worried about you. That's what he should have done there. Instead, he kind of pushed forward a little bit. And I understand he wants to dictate the game. He wants to play the game. He wants to be the man in charge. But sometimes you have to take that step back. You have to allow these other people to step up and play the game. Because again, the target's 1,000% on your back, right? That 1,000% on his back. So that being said, we are down another person here. But nonetheless, conversations are happening throughout the entirety of the house. We have names being mentioned throughout we have, Wes bringing up Nikki's name again. Wes might be coming for Boston Rob. Boston Rob confronts Wes on it. And of course, Wes lies right to his face. He kind of deflects and said it was the other people. Not really shocking there. He's not just going to openly say, yeah, it was my fault. But the strangest move of this entire game happens in this episode. Danielle decides that she is going to throw Caroline under the bus in order to recruit another traitor that she can trust to take down Boston Rob. Now, to me, strategic, yes. But if it gets out, you're in trouble because you're going to have so much dysfunction in the Traitors group here, because now Caroline figures this out. She's going to go to Boston Rob and say, maybe we need to ruffle some feathers over here. Now, that being said, we had a game time. It was a riddle. They had to finish the riddle. If they finished the riddle, they got to stand up, collect one of these like urns, drop the urn. If it revealed gold dust, they won $2,500 for the pot. If no gold dust, they're out of the game. But then there's two people that can win a shield. Pictures on the wall. You could put your picture, somebody else's picture on the wall. The final two people remaining at the end of the game with their pictures on the wall win the shields. Now, the most monumental dumb thing that this is going to come back and bite her in the butt probably next week at the roundtable with an explosive next time. We have the scenes for next week's episode. This should be brought up at that roundtable if it comes to fruition. But Danielle continued here to like put other people's name, and it just, everybody's like, well, do you think you're safe? Like, why are you trying to be quote unquote a good teammate here, but you're really just announcing to everybody that I'm safe and I have nothing to worry about? So that to me was a big warning sign that might come to her head in the future. Sierra got the last question right, meaning that her and Dolores were safe with the shields this week, and they added $15,000 to the pot on the way back through. Danielle tells Wes, Bob, and Dylan that Caroline is a traitor. Dylan's not a fan of the idea because he doesn't believe it. Not shocking there. Chrishell goes to Rob in confidence and said she thinks Nikki is the traitor. She thinks she's a traitor because of how she reacted in the car when Rob announced that he thought that Rob told Nikki that Bob the Drag King was going to come after Nikki, which was a shock, which was a lie from Boston Rob, but still nonetheless. Now, here we go. We're at the round table. Ivar speaks up, says Nikki, Sierra, and Rob. A theory was put forward that only a traitor would know who the traitor is. He asks why he's not a traitor. Rob, with a great money game player, he knows how to speak. He knows how to elegantly say this out loud. He does a great job of nipping this in the bud for this second. Now, Nikki calls out. She thinks that he is a game player and doesn't believe that Rob is a traitor. Sam said if he isn't dead tonight, Rob is on his list tomorrow, which was hilarious because, again, Rob would be a huge threat to the traitor because he went after a traitor. So why wouldn't they murder him right away? Good point there. And then after some back and forth, we get a big old Nikki pile up, as I like to say. Chrishell calls her out. She cries. It was just crazy. A big pile up on Nikki. Right before the end of that, Bob does speak up and saying it would have been badass if a traitor walked in the door and then knocked out a traitor. He calls out Rob on the way out before the voting begins. As I mentioned, literally everybody, Derek, Tom, Chrishell, Brittany, Sierra, Caroline, Wes, Sam, Ivar, Rob, Bob, Dolores, Danielle, and Gabby all vote for Nikki. The only person that didn't vote for Nikki was obviously Nikki herself, who voted for Sierra, and then Dylan voted for Gabby. He said it's hard to watch them call out faithfuls in Sierra and Nikki. Dylan is by far the best player in this game. He's running amok, and if the traitors were smart, you would eliminate him now. He's nitpicking. He's picking off people one by one. Obviously, he threw Gabby's name up there, which was an interesting choice. I don't know if that's the next person he's going to go after, but of course, it's a clean sweep. Nikki, of course, announces she's a faithful, and everyone is floored. Nikki is a sad panda because the people that she thought would stick up for her didn't stick up for her. Dylan, of course, makes fun of all of them, which I found hilarious. Derek and Wes are talking. He said he trusts him, and Rob is always watching everyone. They're going to go after Rob. Then, the moment we have all been waiting for. They did this on purpose. This probably could have been shot out of sequence. It doesn't matter. But Dylan walks up to Caroline and says, hey, somebody I trust came up to me and said something today, but I need to know if I could trust you in return to verify this information. And Dylan tells Caroline that Danielle brought up her name as a traitor. Oh, let the games begin, ladies and gentlemen. In my opinion, obviously we get the reveal, okay? And it's like, of the traitors meeting and nothing said. Next week should be interesting. In my opinion, Caroline should not say anything at all about knowing this. Keep this in your back pocket. Talk to Rob about it. Hey, we need to join together to possibly get Danielle out of this game, because we see a little clip of the next week's episode where, there's a confrontation between these two at the round table. But my point of view here is Caroline needs to keep this in her back pocket. Period. End of story. That's it. That's how I feel about that. But crazy episode this week. It was going to be very hard to top, last week's explosive episode, but I think next week's going to have every opportunity to step up to the plate and be a shocking episode. But folks, let me know what you thought of tonight's episode of The Traitors US Season 3, Episode 5. We saw Robin get murdered and then Nikki get eliminated, only to reveal that she is, in fact, a faithful. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let me know what you think is going to happen next week on next week's episode. And next week, I'm going to start make my rankings of who I think can win this entire thing. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you guys next week.